Hello Figgy Fiends and Collectors, this is me, Daniel East 1000, back again with another Star Wars The Black Series figure review. God, I'm so relieved to finally say that. I have been thirsty for some figgies for quite some time. I've still got a wave that's hopefully on its way to me soon, but this was a nice little surprise today. It's the Figgy Drought, man. It's the Figgy Drought, and right to the veins with this one. Today we're going to be having a look at Boba Fett Return of the Jedi. This is a deluxe, of which comes with an assortment of accessories. Hasbro, you're spoiling us with this one, which we'll get into in the review. Let's have a look at the packaging first, of which is in this slightly larger box. The new sort of standard thing with the beveled edge and the lovely picture of the character on the side there. The green for Return of the Jedi works chef's kiss so well with this one. We've got that lovely artwork of Boba there from Return of the Jedi. Of course, that green colour band runs on the front with Star Wars Return of the Jedi to correspond with the film that the colour represents for the figure. Bubble where the figure sits, and you can see everything that it comes with. Star Wars The Black Series on the side, not really much going on. And then on the back, bit of a bio, which I will include in the description below. Picture again of Boba Fett there. Ton of legal garb and the number that the figure is. And that's pretty much it. Aside from underneath, which has more legal garb. That's the packaging. I love the new style. Retains the old style packaging's features and just gives it a bit of a facelift, and I like it very, very much. And onto the figure itself, of which is awesome. First thing I have to say though is I've slightly modified this figure like everyone else on YouTube. If you're going to pick this thing up, do this technique. For some reason, unbeknownst to any of us, Hasbro have glued the helmet on and then they've stuck it into the packaging. Of course, because of how tight that packaging is, that's unfortunately pushed the helmet in, and there is a fix for that. What I did was I bought a hot cup of water, of which naturally, because I'm British, I did add a tea bag in after I'd done this. Got hold of my Boba Fett figure and dunked him in first. Held him for a couple of seconds. This is all real time. That's quite incredible. You don't need to do it for that long, as you can see here. No editing. And then this is what you get. You get a less squished up face, or helmet in this case, and it looks way more natural and so less goofy, and it made me fall in love with the figure a hell of a lot more than when I had it in hand. I was a bit like, something really off about this, and yeah, it was the helmet. Once I sorted that, let's get into him, shall we? So here's Boba Fett in all his scratched up armour glory, looking really, really badass. Just to go through some of the features on the actual figure itself. On the helmet, you can see all that lovely paint application, the rusting and dings and bangs. You can move the visor down, or rangefinder. The helmet isn't removable, although there is a head under there, and I'd be curious to see if it's the older Temuera Morrison one. We know what you're going to do, Hasbro. You're going to repaint this, but with the black jumpsuit and maybe some little frilly bits, and give us that tasty, tasty Mandalorian Boba Fett. It's going to happen. You're going to do that. Nonetheless, though, you've got some decal work on the shoulder pad there of the Mythosaur skull, and working your way around. A lot of people have complained about the cape being plastic. I'm kind of fine with that. It looks alright and it flows quite nicely. The original Empire Strikes Back one had a soft goods cape. I'm cool with this. It's fine. You got his jetpack, of which has some cool little features, of which I will show you. It is a separate accessory piece that you can take off, and that just plugs in at the back there and stays in quite solidly. Looking at the back, his bobber booty and his little bags and pouches on his belt there. Kind of got him in this typical Boba Fett holding his blaster pose. If I just move that out of the way, you can see some more decal work and the scratches and dings on his armour there. This figure's just so cool. I love it. Moving on down to the legs, pretty basic. There's not really much of a wash on this, but you got the knee pads there and his boots with the spikes on. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. So they're the main details, of course, on his gauntlets, just so I don't forget these. You've got his flamethrower arm and this arm here, which has the tubes going into it. but those fortunately don't, you know, limit articulation too much. In terms of accessory, this guy comes with a lot. Honestly, it really annoys me how Hasbro doesn't include as many accessories as they do with figures like this in their standard line. I think this one does show a tremendous amount of care and detail in terms of the accessories they've picked and given it. Some of them they didn't even really need to even give us, but they're nice additions anyway. First and foremost, you've got this blaster, of which is very nicely weathered. It's kind of got a rusted effect, doesn't look particularly well kept, and that's very in keeping with how Boba Fett looks in his armour during this period of time. Now, not only do you get this blaster, you get the same blaster. Oh, it's cut in half because Luke Skywalker's gone and done chopped it. So this is pretty much the same accessory, except it's cut in half and it can be attached by this peg. It's got some yellow sort of burn detail as if it's been cauterized and cut in half, and you can sort of stick it in, it sort of sticks out like that, so it looks like Luke's just mid cut into that. Or if you did want, you can sort of pose it a little bit like that. This accessory they didn't need to include, but I love that they did. Really simple and really, really effective, and I've dropped the other part to it. The jetpack, if we just pop this off, you can remove the missile which he fires, and yeah, that just slots into there. Again, something they didn't necessarily need to do, but I love that they did. It could have just been one solid piece, but Hasbro went the slight extra mile. Boba Fett's jetpack, interesting to note, is different as to how it appears in Empire Strikes Back. It's this more bluey, vibrant hodgepodge colour, and I'm glad Hasbro got that detail right. There's the jetpack, and you get these flame effects, of which unfortunately don't fit into the Mandalorian's jetpack, but they do fit into this one's. I do suggest sort of holding on to these thrusters because they do articulate a little bit. So if you just grab them by the actual thruster, stick those in like so, and you've got his jetpack all fired up. And I can imagine if you've got yourself one of them flight display stands, I might have to get myself one because of this figure. Having that flight display stand is just going to set Boba Fett with those jets on up perfectly, as if he's flying in the air, gunning down some rebels or bounties that he's after. Just super, super cool. Really, really do love that. And the fun doesn't stop there either. He comes with this little flamethrower piece, of which looks suspiciously like the flamethrower trooper's flame piece, just made smaller and given a different sort of attachment to work with Boba Fett's gauntlet. So if you just see there, it's kind of shaped that way. If you just plug it in like that, flamethrower effects. You can have him wielding his flamethrower. Love it! Love it! It's just, again, something they didn't have to include, but it's nice they did. It's a nice additional play feature and display feature that you can do. So yeah, that just plugs in there like that, and you can take that out. And finally, now this accessory is probably the weakest. You get this sort of wrist piece that you can attach onto his wrist, this side, and you've got his grappling hook. It doesn't really sit on his arm too well. It does have a tendency to fall out quite a bit. The cable is just really, really short. It's not enough to sort of wrap Luke up, or if you did, he'd be really close to Boba Fett. So what I've seen a lot of people do, and Sith Lord 229 in particular did do a really good tutorial on how to improve this accessory. I'm just going to leave it how it is because I'm not too fussed about it. But if you are inclined to, get yourself a bit of fishing wire, thread that through, tie it up on there, and then you can create your own length for the grappling hook. But the dart's there. I love the dart. That's really well sculpted. But yeah, the only thing is you've got that massive chunky knot, which doesn't look amazingly display wise, and I personally can't think of where I'll be using this in my displays. But if you're a toy photographer and you do that little hack there, that little improvement, modification, you know, you can certainly get some better toy pics of him using that. Regardless, it's nicely included. It's a little additional thing. So that's all the accessories that come with Boba Fett. It's a lot, and I love that. It's just actual care and attention to detail that I like to see from Hasbro, and they don't always execute with the standard figures. And just to finally finish it off, in terms of his articulation, he has a ball jointed head. There's also a ball joint in the neck, so he can look even further down and up Ball jointed shoulders. Now, you would probably think that these shoulder pads would hinder that. They don't. It's a separate piece in terms of this flight suit, so it just adds for additional posability, and those move with his arm as you move them up. He has butterfly joints inside there as well, which I've only just noticed, surprisingly. I love it when Hasbro put in butterfly joints. A little bit limited because of obviously the chest piece and flight suit under there, but you can still get a bit of posability from that. Ball jointed elbows, swivels at the top of the forearm a little bit, ball jointed wrists, ball jointed torso, ball jointed hips, swivels at the tops of the thighs, ball jointed knees, and this is where I will admit I'm completely with the ball jointed knees thing now. I get it. Okay, Hasbro, you were right, I was wrong, I confess. Ball jointed ankles with rocker joints as well. So you can get this guy in some really, really good poses. I'm really impressed with this thing. I think Hasbro's done a tremendous job. Credit where credit is due, I sometimes. It's fair to say, berate Hasbro a little bit, but the execution on this guy is bob on. Besides the helmet. Have to get a little dig in there, but besides the helmet, but once you get him soaked in some hot water and get that all moulded back into the right position, literally with me it was just a case of dunking it in, giving it a few seconds, and it automatically did it. It automatically sorted itself out. I think it's just how it's been pressed in the packaging. But yeah, once you get that done, this figure, I love it. Not just because it's Boba Fett, but because Hasbro put the extra work into it. And yes, it does more than justify the deluxe pack treatment. So that's my review of Boba Fett. That's my tiny little figgy fix, and I'm a little bit buzzing off the walls, but oh man, is this one a good one. I'm super chuffed with it. The only question is though, have you managed to pick this one up? If not, why not? And let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of him, and I'll see you next time. This is me, Deluxe 1000. Signing out.